This is part one of a two-part video on some common myths surrounding creatine supplementation. Now, here's a fun fact. Did you know that according to PubMed, there are over 500 peer-reviewed publications that involve various aspects of creatine supplementation? Yep, that is indeed true. And yet, we still have knuckleheads who have no clue what creatine can do and instead promote nonsense regarding this supplement. You've heard of the notion of superfoods. Well, we know that's total BS. There are no superfoods. But is there a supplement that can do so many great things that one might call it a super supplement? Well, is there? If you answered creatine, go to the head of the class. So here are the first 6 common myths surrounding creatine. Number 1, does creatine lead to water retention? Now, while there is some evidence to suggest that creatine supplementation increases water retention, primarily attributed to increases in intracellular volume over the short term, there are, however, several other studies suggesting it does not alter total body water relative to muscle mass over longer periods of time. As a result, creatine supplementation may not lead to water retention. Number 2, is creatine an anabolic steroid? Now, let's just say this is a really dumb one. This is where that organic chemistry class that you were tortured with in college may actually pay off. Now, look at the structure of testosterone. It's one of several steroids. I want you to stare at it. Now, look at the structure of creatine. Do they look the same? Of course not. It would be like saying a Great Dane looks like a house cat. So shut up already with the creatine is a steroid nonsense. Number 3, does creatine cause kidney damage or renal dysfunction? If you answered no, go to the head of the class. By the way, if you eat a lot of fish, which happens to have a lot of creatine, does that cause kidney damage? Number 4, and this one actually is a little bit funny. Does creatine cause hair loss or baldness? Now, I know what you're thinking. I no longer go to the barber. It's an astute observation, but anecdotes do not equal evidence. They're merely anecdotes. Now, this notion stems from a single study where college-aged male rugby players who supplemented with creatine at a dose of roughly 25 grams a day for a week, followed by 5 grams per day thereafter for an additional 2 weeks, they experienced an increase in what's called serum DHT or dihydrotestosterone. Theoretically, an increase in DHT may lead to hair loss, but the devil's in the details. When you look at the actual data on DHT, the levels were well within the normal range. And besides, the study's not been replicated, so someone needs to replicate it. Thank you very much. Number 5, does creatine lead to dehydration and muscle cramping? Absolutely not. In fact, there is data which indicates that creatine users may actually have less muscle cramping. And then number 6, and this is quite controversial, is creatine harmful for children and adolescents? Now, there is data on teenage athletes, young kids, and even infants with regards to the use of creatine. There's no evidence of any harm in these populations. One study reported significant improvements in traumatic brain injury-related outcomes in children and adolescents who received oral creatine at a very high dose of 0.4 grams per kilo per day for 6 months. Now, just to give you an idea of how high that dose is, for a 150-pound individual, that's equal to 27 grams daily for 6 months. That is huge. And yet, no adverse effects are found. These neurological benefits may also have potential applications for young athletes participating in collision sports. So that is one reason, or at least one of many reasons, why you should take creatine supplementation. So those are the first 6 myths and misconceptions. Check out the last 6 major myths and misconceptions about creatine in part 2 of the video.